So what I've been working on this last couple of weeks is really just diving into this little device called the ZimaBoard. You guys probably know what it is. You've seen it out there. And you know, I've seen other videos on it, and I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna give my opinion on it, or kind of my take on it. And it's a pretty cool little device. Now I get it. There's so many other devices you can get, and you know, you can compare it to all these other devices. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty unique device that I think is pretty cool, especially for some of the use cases that I listed in the video that I released this morning, and I talked about. It's pretty nice to have that PCIe slot on the outside. Although most people, you know, think automatically they go to video card and all these things that, you know, maybe it's designed for, maybe it's not. You know, right away I started thinking about other things I can use it for, and especially like, you know, additional NICs or a Coral TPU, which I wish I could get my hands on to do some AI stuff on this tiny little board. But anyways, tons of use cases, and I think, well, not only CasaOS is pretty cool, definitely for maybe someone who is a beginner or someone who just doesn't want to deal with the madness that is configuring Docker containers. And YAML and all of that. But I think it's also cool that it has the serial ATA ports in a really accessible place, especially for me. Like I swap drives, I fix drives, I replace drives a lot. I have to update the firmware, I have to wipe them. And so having those serial ATA ports or SATA ports right there and very accessible along with power is super fun, super nice for me, because I've been using this janky old PC. It's still up there on my workbench for a long time to wipe drives, to upgrade firmware, to do all kinds of stuff. And so it's so nice now to have just this tiny little device that I can actually do that with. And actually, I have that ZimaBoard's up there. I don't know how to get out of the way. That ZimaBoard's up there right now running Windows. I put Windows 10 on it this morning, and it's I don't want to say running the stream, but it's also has the stream viewing the stream, I guess, on my monitor back there. So yeah, it's a pretty handy little device, and I get it. All kinds of devices. You guys have all kinds of choice. I just thought, hey, here's something that I think is kind of unique, and I wanted to share it with you. Anyways, enough about that. What have you guys been working on? Throw it in the chat. Let's talk about it. If you have things you're struggling with, you have questions, if you have a project you're going to start this weekend and you want to get some advice, or you're maybe excited about the thing you're going to start, you know, throw it in the chat. Let's talk about it. I am definitely going to go into the events that took place just here a little bit ago. Where is my events window? Oh, so let's see. I'm gonna roll it back just a little bit because there were some that rolled in right before the stream. So I'm going to start there. King of the Knobs, DDR 2025, Jeff Pohl, DevOps Zone, Hamthi, I like Hamthi. Rumgid, thank you guys all for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome. Sigor, hey, resub, Prime, 29 months. Dude, thank you so much. Over a year, 29 months. Let's go. Loving the new Friday streams. Hey, Sigor, I'm glad you're liking the new streams. I am too. Mainly because it means, like, you know, this is kind of like my job right now, which is pretty awesome. I was thinking about that yesterday. I don't know if you saw my Instagram post, but I posted a photo of basically my workbench back there and said, you know, I can't believe this is my job. And it kind of is right now, which is awesome. I have a few jobs, but this is one of them. And I just can't believe that I actually get to do this and, you know, get kind of paid for it. I'll say kind of paid because, you know, it's not software engineer money, but it's a lot of fun doing it. So anyways, let's get into it. JTPAC. Oh, that's a lot of words. A lot of syllables. JTech Pet. Thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Omric, resub, Prime, 6 months. Thank you so much. Thanks for the Prime sub. Appreciate it. Fizzy Water, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Crack Kitty, thank you for the bits. Get paid. 800 bits, dude. Thank you. Get paid. I like it. You like how I'm throwing that in there? Get paid. Dude, Crack Kitty, how are you? This must be a good time if Crack Kitty can join. I like it. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. So let's get into chat. Let's see who was here first. Let's talk about tech stuff. Let's talk about tech and what we're working on. Again, if you got something you want to share, throw it in there. Let's talk about it. Who was here first? Actually, we'll go with who was here first before I call it. This one, I know who was here first. I think it was Mafney. I think it was Mafney with a banana right at noon. So hey, thanks, Mafney. Good to see you. Good to see you. How's it going, Mafney? Good to see you. Sigor says, hey, everyone. DGD Gabogi says, hey. MDH Matt. Yeah, Tim time. All right. I like it. Yeah. Let's see. Hope you guys are doing well. For touch base, DGB, I'm just going to say Gabogi. Gabgogi. That's so hard for me to say. Yeah. Anyways, stream time is good to relax my mind. I've been suffering from Proxmox Cloudinit implementation for the past few hours. Hey, awesome. So I'm glad it eases your mind. I'll try to keep it a little bit calmer then, so I'm not like blowing up your mind. But anyways, Proxmox Cloudinit. I've done it. I'm sure you've seen it before. Once I create my Cloudinit template, it's just kind of there. So I haven't had a ton of problems with it, but I don't customize mine a lot. I know you can go all in with Terraform and Packer and rebuild, your Cloudinit template on a schedule or however often you want to. I don't. I pull down the cloud image from wherever, whether it's Ubuntu, Debian, whatever. And then I do zero configuration to it. I don't even turn it on. I take the one that I get from them, and then I, configure my Cloudinit config, and then I leave it at that. Mainly because I use Ansible afterwards to do all the configuration that I need, and that's nice because it's idempotent, meaning that I can run it on machines multiple times, get the same result, to get the same outcome. But what's nice is that I can do it on brand new machines and existing machines, and it will have the same outcome. And then what I've noticed, and then what Proxmox actually did in 8 was give you an option to disable automatic updates on boot. And when I first saw that, I thought, why are they doing this? What is the point of that? But I realized, hey, that's the default behavior, I think, in Cloudinit is on first boot to patch itself. And so what Proxmox did was give you an option to disable that. And I thought at first, why are you giving me this option? But really, it's actually a nice option in case you don't want to patch your systems on boot, because let's just say you were doing something and you had to reboot your system. You don't want to go and patch your system just because it rebooted. Maybe not. But in controlled environments, most of the time you don't want to. Anyways, but I hope you figured it out. If there's something I can help with, let me know. I have documentation on that. You've probably seen it, but I have documentation. I have videos on that, and I've done it myself, and I still do it myself. So let me know. But you're also asking, how y'all doing? I'm doing pretty good. It's Friday. Hello. Good to see you, TFCPT, Lima. And here I was going through old videos working on traffic and portainer setups from the archives. Oh, cool. Yeah. So, that one's tough. I know that that one's tough. I will say that a lot of people have done it, and a lot of people have attempted it, and a lot of people have attempted it many times. Once you get it going, it's so nice to have because then you can put everything behind your reverse proxy and have, certificates, which is awesome. Modest Tim, how's it going? Modest Tim, resub, tier 1, 11 months. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Modest Tim, how's it going? Happy Friday. Happy Friday is right. How's it going, man? Good to see you. My fellow brother with the same name as me. How's it going, Modest Tim? Good to see you. And thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. Sigor, good. How about you? Oh, that's I'm going to say Gabogi. That's what I'm going with. It's hard for me to say the B and the G together. Same, but I'm about to give up handing over custom cloud configurations. I've been following the Proxmox documentation to the letter. Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. Look at mine though. I just search my documentation for cloud-init, and it should come back. There's very few articles I wrote on that, and it's very close to the Proxmox documentation. but it just boils down to a few commands. Then you create a template from it, and you should be, I think, should be good to go. Crackitty, don't tell work I'm joining this. Yeah, that's the thing I had to decide. That's kind of the judgment call I had to make with moving this to a whoa, wow, I've got all kinds of stuff going on, dude. El Pastana. I'm going with El Pastana. Dude, Prime sub. Thank you so much. I saw the hype train icon come up and I forgot it was even there. I need to move it. It kind of overlaps. But dude, thank you so much for the Prime sub. And I think it was hype train, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But Crackitty, yeah, that was kind of the internal struggle when I was like, do I move it to Friday or do I move it to Saturday? And what it boiled down to was, well, I think more people could join if I did it on Friday earlier than on a Saturday. A lot of people, have things they have to do on Saturday. It's family time for some. And on top of that, and especially during the summer, and then on top of that, it was later in the day, which excluded half the world. So I made a judgment call. So just send me your cost center for continuing education, and I will send you a bill. Lima, just tell work it's a webinar. I like it. It is a webinar. I should put fake titles up there. So instead of saying, what are you working on today? It should say like, AWS, intro to AWS. or I should put up there best practices for AWS, because AWS is the most popular cloud. And who can argue? And if you're using the cloud, you're probably using AWS. And even if you aren't, I'm sure your company might be thinking about it. So if they walk by and they see a title that says best practices for AWS, they're like, that person's getting a raise. I should change it. Totally. And turn on white background lights so it doesn't look like I'm some weirdo with with gaming lights. I'm also a massive fan of the new Friday streams. Hey, thank you. The perfect stream for me. Hey, thank you. Actually, you have the ability to change the lights mostly white in here. I still haven't fixed one more thing, but you have the ability to change mostly white. But I'm a fan of this. One. Let's see. Tech projects. Yeah, let's see. PC Geek. Now I want to get a ZimaBoard. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, it's I think if you do it, you have a few options. Oh, there we go. Now I just need to change the title to some buzzword up here. I think AWS best practices would probably be the best one, because who can argue with that, Because it covers a lot of, I think, what people do. If you have a suggestion for what I should name that title, let me know. As long as it's as long as it's appropriate, and we keep it pretty G in here. Maybe a little PG, but keep it pretty good and clean. But yeah, PC Geek, I know what you mean. They did give me one, and so I didn't have to purchase it. They did give me one for reviewing and playing with, and I would say it's an awesome device. I had planned on purchasing one anyways after I saw quite a few videos on them, but they reached out, I think, right around the same time. I think they reached out to a bunch of people, but it's pretty cool. I mean, even if you go with the low end model, I think you'll find a lot of good uses out of it, unless you're trying to stack it. If you're trying to compare it to like a full-blown PC or a full-blown server, I think you'll be disappointed. But if you limit your expectations or temper your expectations and say, hey, I'm going to use this for a few things. Just think of it like, hey, what would I use a Raspberry Pi for? I mean, right away when you get a Raspberry Pi, you kind of have to, temper your expectations and say, okay, there are some things that are on limits. There are some things that are off limits. And you kind of have to do this with this device too, because at the end of the day, it's a 2 or 4 core Celeron, a little bit of RAM, but it has a lot of Intel x86 features, which you might be interested in. So anyways, I think it's a super fun device. I actually love the form factor. When I first saw it, I was kind of like, form factor's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. And this SATA or this PCI Express port popping out the side, kind of weird. But I've grown to like it. It's pretty fun. Lima, Portainer behind traffic, even with your archives. Oh, you posted that. That one's tough. So that one's super tough. So Portainer behind traffic that's on the same machine is a tough one. But I have the video on that one, but it is tough. It is tough. And it's always tough when you're doing it on the same machine because it's kind of like a networking challenge, I'll say. A lot of port mapping, a lot of Docker networking going on there. Oh, let's see. I'm going with Dude. I'm just seeing Dude 641. Just finished building up a new PC. Need to get software reloaded for homelab stuff. Awesome. That is awesome. So what? Is it a new PC? It sounds like it. Building up a new PC. I don't know. Sometimes I say like it's a new homelab device, but it's kind of like a hand-me-down, like a used car. New to you? Is it new to you, or is it brand new? But either way, sounds awesome. What software are you getting loaded on that thing? I assume if it's one, you're either going to do Proxmox or Portainer. One or the other. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Curious what you're going to put on it because, yeah, I like installing things on servers. But yeah, sounds awesome, Dude. I hope you enjoy it. Sounds fun. A lot of hypes. Oh, yeah. And so if you're noticing that the chat message is a little bit different, it's because I had to revert back to this one. I think it's only temporarily, though. If you're here last week, I tried out a new chat tool, and it actually worked out really awesome, except for one thing. It would continuously scroll the chat, so I couldn't, like, pick the chat I wanted to place on the screen. And so I'm back to this one. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, but the other one was nice because it would actually show emojis, it would show your avatars, and it was pretty cool. But I struggled with the tool. And I ended up talking to the developer of the tool who made it, and he said he had some things, or I don't know if he's she. They said they had some features coming, and they would let me know, but I haven't heard back yet. I was like, okay, let me know. Does it have the 2 features I want? And it's not open source, so I can't open a pull request on the thing. So, anyways, back to this chat. It's good enough for now. Yo, Jay for Bush, how's it going? Good to see you. TF CPT, greetings from Portugal. Hey, greetings from the United States. Thanks for joining all the way from Portugal. Core count. Video in the works for the Beehive sprinkler timers. Interesting. Core count. I think you're like the 4th person that asked me for this. Usually, maybe. They are awesome. I mean, I did a short on them, and I think I'm assuming people want more. And so the longer format version of that is in my backlog because that was kind of I was honestly testing the waters with that short, thinking like, hey, here's something in my personal life that I like to do. That is kind of related to tech. Almost everything I do is related to tech. I'll find a way to tie it in. And I thought, hey, I'll experiment and create a short for it. And it turns out like people are liking it. So maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I have a lot of ideas of how I could do it, but like I think you said it best, just a longer form version of it. And it would probably go through setting it up, getting it going, how I use it, how I even split my hoses. That's where it's kind of like, okay, at what part does like, the personal stuff that I do overlap with the tech stuff that I do? And so, how deep do I go on my backflow pressure and my 4-port manifold and my pressure reducer? maybe, because I had to learn all this stuff myself. I didn't have a guide. I just figured it out myself. And then one day I, read on the internet, you should probably have a backflow, preventer so that the water doesn't come back in. And I was like, yeah, it totally makes sense. I don't want to drink dirty water. Yeah, I learned that. I think I got one after season 2. So I probably drink dirty water, gray water for maybe a season. But these are things like that weren't taught to me. I had to learn from the internet. So maybe I could teach that too. TFC PT, so 6 p.m. is great. So Portugal. Okay, so it's 6 p.m. in Portugal, so that you guys are 6 hours ahead. Note to self. Let's see, 11 CST, because lunchtime in New York. Yeah, so 11 CST. Okay, so noon EST, or noon East Coast is lunch there. All these things I had to figure out. Weekends, I was just kind of like, I know it's, day, most of the U.S., night, most of the rest of the world, maybe early morning for Australian people that are really on the other side of the world. But I didn't I had to put a lot more thought into Fridays because I was like, oh, lunch? What is it? Lunch for Mountain? It's lunch for me now, but lunch for Chicago. But what about Mountain and Pacific and Eastern? And I'm getting close, though. I think I'm honing in on the time. Last week was your lunch, so maybe we'll go back. I got to look at the numbers. Papu. I'm just going with Papu because that is a lot going on in there. And there's a lot of. All right, we are feeding the algorithm now. Lots of terms. So Twitch can hone in on people who like these things or talk about these things. I like it. Proxmox, Terraform, GitOps, Ansible, Packer, and whatever else comes up. Automating creation of Proxmox templates and virtual machines off that, and eventually using K3s. Still figuring out Kubernetes management. Yeah. Me too. It's okay. I am too. Don't worry about it at all. So let's talk about this Proxmox. Good choice for a hypervisor. Terraform, great choice for forming up or for standing up infrastructure. Absolutely. GitOps in general, huge fan. I know that is like the holy grail for a lot of people, and it's one of the last things people think about. Now, when I start new stuff, it's one of the first things I think about. I've done the same thing with DevOps. A lot of people think about DevOps later. I think about DevOps, I don't want to say first, but really close to first. I think about source control. Before every code project, I think source control, DevOps, GitOps. I think like that. Even before I write, maybe I'll write some code, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a little template or something, or just hello world. But I always try to build my path to production first, before I even noodle on some idea that I have. I mean, I know if I'm gonna host this thing, I guess I should say, there's a difference between just tinkering around and like wanting to actually build a service or build a UI or build something that I want to share. And so I always think of how can I get this in production, and how can I get it there repeatable, and how can I get it there in a container and whatever. I always think about that. So I always pave my path all the way to production first, and then go back and start iterating on things. I never, unless I walk onto a project I've never worked on before, I never figure out DevOps and GitOps later. I figure it out first. Because after you pave that path, after you get your code and get whatever it is you're trying to deploy all the way out to production, you can iterate so fast. You can back out, you can do whatever you want, but you're able to provide, here we go, some enterprise speak. You're able to provide value a lot quicker. And value that someone can actually, tangible value that someone can actually see, So for me personally, I always pave my path all the way to production, all the way first, all the way there, certificates, you name it. And I and then I'll add monitoring and alerting. I'll add all of that stuff so it's ready to go. So if someone says tomorrow, it's like, hey, we like what you have. Let's make a couple of changes. Let's go live. I'll say, sweet. Let's make those changes and go live. We're already live, and then, if you have a firewall, open it up or whatever, however you want to lift, your curtain to make your product available to the world. Anyways, I'll stop talking about that stuff. Yeah, we're kind of getting into maybe DevOps, GitOps best practices. I'll just keep changing the title as we go. And then I'll be like, man, that guy over there, he's on DevOps and GitOps best practices. Give that guy a raise. Hey, thank you so much. Takano, dude, how's it going? Resub Prime, 32 months. Dude, 32. Let's go. 32 months. Managed to snag a Wisp switch from Goodwill for $3. PoE, active or passive, and 4 points passive PoE. Finally, fully managed to. Dude, Takano, Takano is always snagging deals at Goodwill. And it's not like I said, like my Goodwill tech section, nothing against Goodwill, love Goodwill. It's pretty awesome. But the Goodwill's the tech section in my Goodwill has like routers, and I'm talking about home routers, like WRT routers, love them to death, but it has ones from 2001, 20 years ago. And Takano walks into his Goodwill, and he's picking up PoE switches and everything. I don't know. There must be like a hardware company in town that just dumps them off there. Because, and I guess in my town, there's Best Buy is here. Their headquarters is here. And so there's a lot of stuff. A lot of the Best Buy stuff doesn't make it into our Target. Target headquarters is here. And actually, a lot of their stuff does make it into Goodwill, which is pretty cool for people because then they get brand new clothes that just never sold at Target now with tags on still at Goodwill. So anyways, and Salvation Army too. So, but Techno has a I don't know. He's wherever he's at. I know he's in the Southwest. They have a good Goodwill out there. So, Quizzy, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. El Pastana, I don't know if I called that one out. I think I did, but thank you for the Prime sub. If I already did it, hey, ×2, thank you. Takano again, thank you. And Quizzy, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Let's see. Cote. ZimaBoard is too expensive for its performance. Sure. I mean, you could argue that with a lot of stuff. You could say that same thing about Raspberry Pi. I mean, it really depends on, what you're going to use it for. And so, in your use case, what you're using it for, you're saying, hey, like the price to performance ratio is not there. You could argue that same thing with almost anything. Or you would have a different metric, right? You could say the power to price ratio is not good. Or you could say the storage to, price ratio, or the, expansion or the value. You could say that about almost anything you want. So I get it. Like a lot of people are saying, hey, for $119, I'm getting this 2-core thing with 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of eMMC, which if that's what your metric is, I totally get it. You could buy something else and expand it and be totally fine. Where I look at it for me is like, hey, I get this tiny little device, low power, compact, sit on my desk. I get 2 SATA ports that I can go and wipe all of my disks or flash all my firmware or test or recover data. And then I get a PCI Express slot if I really want to plug something in and test something a little bit further. And so that's where my metric is. And my metric is really just like accessibility and form factor. And, for that price for $119, I honestly think for what I would use it for, I think it's a pretty okay deal. I mean, you could say the same thing about Raspberry Pi. I mean, all in Raspberry Pi, you're spending over $100 if you could get one. And so, like, again, like these aren't, and this is why I don't like comparing one device to another device because, most of the time, a lot of them fit different needs. And then you could go and say, well, B-Link devices. Yeah, B-Link devices, which is great value. I have 2 B-Link devices. I love them. Bought one for my mom. And then people say, well, B-Link is, you could get, one sub $200. And I totally get it. Yep. For a PC, that's a great deal. But I don't have access to PCIe or SATA ports easily. So, but yeah, I totally get it. It is that way for some people. And, there's a metric in there. I don't know your denominator. Your denominator looks like, well, I guess I do, performance. So you're dividing the cost by performance. My denominator is kind of form factor and accessibility. So that's where I think, for me, if my denominator is form factor and accessibility, pretty good deal for x86. Yeah, but I hear you. Hey, I hear you. I mean, it's your money. Spend your money on what you want to. I hear you. I'm right there with you. Desabotage. Yeah, boy. Timmy is back. Yeah, I like it. Let's get hype. All right, I like boy. B-O-I-I. How's it going? Good to see you, Desabotage. Thug Muffin. Global network deployment on Linode with Vios. Deploying with Terraform. Configuring Ansible. Currently at 14. Jeez. There's a lot going on there. So global network deployment in Linode with Vios. So that is pretty cool. It sounds pretty... That sounds pretty hardcore. If we're going off my video this morning, that's pretty hardcore, at least for me. Like that, as far as networking goes, that would be hardcore for me to spin up BIOS in general. This headless firewall where you have to rely on config only to configure my firewall. For me personally, if I did that, that would be pretty hardcore. But you're putting it in the cloud to do global network configuration. Pretty awesome, and you're using Terraform to deploy it. And configuring with Ansible. Okay, I got you. Terraform, deploying Vios in Linode, and then once you deploy it, then you're using Ansible to configure it. I'd say that's pretty hardcore. That's pretty awesome. Sounds pretty awesome. 14 of them, man. But you know what you're doing by now. You should be making videos on this stuff. Ooh, that's way out there. Working on some work stuff or home stuff. Me personally, yes. You can tell me either one, as long as you're not putting company secrets. Totally fine. TFCTP, I wanted to know what the best Proxmox LXC or VM in terms of security to have BitTorrent client isolated in a Linux distro. What is the most secure BitTorrent client? It kind of sounds like an oxymoron there. No, I know. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be, this is going to be, I mean, there might be statistics on what the most secure, Linux distribution is. Arguably, it's going to be a minimal one. I'm not the best resource to talk about like, hey, what's the most, secure Linux distribution. I think there are other more qualified people that are out there. I would say, dude, get a real expert opinion on this, because there are lots of people, especially on YouTube, who talk about, what the most secure Linux distribution is. But I think in general, most Linux distributions, popular ones, are pretty secure as long as you follow a lot of secure best practices. So you can make the most secure version of Linux insecure by doing bad things. And vice versa, you can make the most insecure version of Linux very secure by doing some good things. So I would spend more time on making Linux secure than finding one that's secure to begin with. I think you'll get more value out of that because flavors and distributions will change. A lot of the practices and guidelines you follow are the same ones that have been around for 20 years or so. But yeah, I wish I was more qualified to talk about this. I don't want to give a recommendation unless I'm qualified to talk about it. I honestly don't feel like I am. But anyways, I would say look for ways to secure your Linux distribution versus finding one out of the box that's secure, because Linux in general is pretty secure. I would say. Well, I think that was the best non-answer I've had in a while. If you know anything about me, like as soon as it comes into getting, I don't know, like something I'm not too familiar with, I like to give non-answers, which are basically, they're non-answers. I think that was a pretty good non-answer. But I think at the same time, it means, hey, I acknowledge that I'm not the best resource for this. Here's some things you should do, and I would spend more time on the things that I think you should do versus just trying to find the best distribution. I think there's practice, it's nature and nurture, and I think in this case for I don't know who nature and nurture is for a Linux distribution, but it's more in this case about nurture, how you secure the thing versus, hey, it was born secure. So populous, kind of chicken or an egg thing, hoping to manage everything via IAC, but you need infrastructure in order to deploy. Thoughts on leaving base resources out, using scripts to recreate if needed, or importing into IAC? Example, self-hosted Git on a VM, but should that VM be imported into Terraform? No, I know exactly what you mean. Hey, Jay Phenom has resubbed tier 1, 13 months. Thank you so much. I missed that one. Thank you so much. Woo, 1 year. Thank you so much. 1 year, 1 month. And Josh Finney, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Jostrus, thanks for the follow too. I appreciate it. Welcome. But Jay Phenom, thanks again. Sorry, I missed that one a little bit earlier. Tier 1, 13 months. Let's go. So IAC. So yeah, this one's tough. So let me roll this back a little bit. So you want to set something up, like you said, maybe it's GitLab, and you're going to go the IAC route for that piece of infrastructure for GitLab. But then you're saying, well, I don't even have the VMs yet in IAC, infrastructure as code, and should I go back and deploy those first and then get GitLab going, and then, so I'll have IAC all the way through? A Pierce would probably say yes. A pragmatist or me would probably say, go after GitLab first. Because there's a reason you want GitLab. You don't want GitLab so you can do IAC. I feel like it's a means to an end. I feel like you want GitLab for a reason, to source control something. And maybe GitLab is your source control for IAC, and then it's also your CI/CD to deploy it. So now you're really getting into a chicken and an egg, because soon you'll be able to redeploy yourself, which is pretty cool to think about. You're using GitLab to then deploy your IAC, deploy GitLab itself on top of itself, which is pretty cool. Like I use Flux to deploy Flux on top of itself every time there's an update. I'm like, what is even going on? But I totally get it. So I would say get GitLab. There's a lot of gits in there, giggity. Get GitLab going first, because I really feel like you're going after that, and I feel like that will here we're going with more enterprise stuff. Getting that going will unlock more value. What's the value you're trying to provide? Maybe it's deploying code, maybe it's deploying containers, maybe it's just doing IAC and deploying more IAC. So I would say go that route. And then you could backfill. For VMs and stuff like that. I personally try to treat my VMs like cattle. So I'll say I don't have the greatest IAC around my VMs in general, because if one dies, I don't care about it. I'm just going to spin up another one from a Proxmox Cloud Init template, say go, run Ansible against it, join it to my cluster with Ansible, and it's done. Apply a label once it gets into Kubernetes. Once it gets that label, then it's like, cool, I know what my role is. And then, Kubernetes will figure out the rest. You're probably not using Kubernetes, but same idea. So I would say get GitLab going, because I think that will unlock more potential. Maybe I'll stop saying value and say potential, but I think that'll unlock more potential, and then backfill later. Like I still haven't backfilled IAC for my virtual machines. Will I ever? I don't know. I don't know if that's time I want to spend into learning. Not that I don't do IAC everywhere else, but I'm not sure if I want to invest that time into doing it for something that's so easy to do. Someone I work with all the time used to say, just do it the old way until it's too painful. And I will say, maybe in this case, I'm not always a purist. I'm a pragmatist sometimes, most of the time. Pretty pragmatic when it comes to things. I would say do it until it becomes painful. And go after the thing that you're trying to learn. You want to get GitLab out there. You want to then use that probably as a pipeline to deploy other code, or deploy other, deploy your Terraform scripts. So I would say go for that. J Phenom, thank you so much. 100 bits. Thank you so much. So happy for you doing so good, bro. Hope you remember me. Amaze Josh. Yeah. Dude, Amaze Josh. How's it going, dude? You switched your name up. J Phenom. I like it. I got to remember that. Yeah, dude. We go way back. Dude, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, on the outside, when you talk about, I'm kind of working for myself. I'm doing this. It looks like I'm doing great. I think I am doing great. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty happy. It's still a lot of work. It's still a lot of stress. And I will say that, I made decent money as a software engineer. Not doing that anymore. So, I'm a lot of stress trying to figure all that out. That being said, I love what I'm doing. I love that I had this time to do this. And dude, so good to see you. And Amaze Josh was one of the first not focusing on me. Amaze Josh was one of the first people ever on my Twitch stream way back when I used to game a lot of indie games. And I think he was one of the first people to ever subscribe to me. So, dude, good to see you, Amaze Josh. Hope you're doing well. I think you're married now. I remember you said you were engaged, and I think you were building your fiance a PC at the time. Hopefully she likes her gaming PC. Anyways, dude, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Wow. So let's see. Chicken or the egg? We got that. Let's see. Pinot Noir Superstar. How's it going? Got another name I haven't seen in a while. Hey, good to see you. Long time no see. I've used a ZimaBoard connected to an LSI SAS 9211-8i and to Spinrite, my NAS, which has a very old 3 terabyte drives, which is still running strong. Again, that is awesome. Again, another like use case where it's like, okay, I need a PCIe Express, controller board accessible to me on low power. A great way to do it. Awesome. Good to see you, Pinot Noir. Let's see. Othug Muffin. I have 2 ZimaBoards being delivered today. Okay. All right. Oh, I enjoy them. Two. But then you don't, I won't even go there. How are you going to build, a cluster? How do you quorum with 2? I'm teasing. That's how you get 3. Nobi. After watching Raid Owls, you're like, maybe I do need 3. Nobi, Ryu, hello all, and Tim, I just started your video and saw you were streaming. Had to pause to join here. Hey, thanks. Thank you. That title is sometimes misleading. It says I'm live now on Twitch or something like that. I had to change it because it used to say my stream schedule, so I just left it pretty generic. So 99% of the time, people don't land when I'm live, but hey, you made it here, so thank you. Thank you. Phantom Way, just getting into setting up AppRise and MailRise for SMTP notifications for services like iDRAC, etc. Cool, Phantom Way. I think this is so awesome. This is something I need to do. I want to do. I keep procrastinating, or I keep pushing off, I should say. I'm not procrastinating. I got plenty to do. But this is definitely something I want to do. So if you're not familiar with MailRise, I was going to say MapRise and combine them together. MailRise, AppRise, it works with it takes an SMT. How do I say this? Works like a mail server, but converts those mails into notifications. So it's kind of like an interface. So you basically say, hey, this old system, I want to have push notifications for it, but say my iDRAC only supports an SMTP server. Well, you connect this to this internal service, and when it pushes an email, you can then convert it to a push notification to get it however you like. You want that as another email. You want that as a Slack notification. You want that as a Discord notification. Those two services will help you do it. So super cool. I've wanted to do it for a long time. I just haven't had time. So I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Hopefully you get it figured out. You'll have to let me know which one you settle on. I think both of them kind of do the same thing. I think they're, I don't want to say competitors. They're both in the same space. How about that? Sounds awesome. I'm jealous. ISO was going to mow my lawn, but then I ended up in here. I'm sorry. Well, thank you for joining, ISO. Good to see you. If your grass is pretty long and the city's going to send you some kind of like bill for not cutting it, send it my way. Just kidding. They'll do that here in Minnesota, Minneapolis especially. They'll fine you. You leave your grass too long. Well, I guess they're pretty lenient now. They're not lenient about ice. They are not lenient about ice. I got someone reported me once that I had ice outside, and it was tough. It was like we had snow, rain, and so everyone's sidewalk was ice. And then the next day, everyone got a warning from the great city of Minneapolis saying, hey, you need to shovel your sidewalk. And I'm like, dude, I'm freaking throwing salt and sand on it every day, and I'm out here with, well, then I went out there with a pickaxe, and I did it with a pickaxe. And I was like, yeah, you wanna see a clean sidewalk? Took my pickaxe out and chopped it up. Seriously did. And then I chopped up the churches down the street too. So it was kind of fun swinging a pickaxe in the wintertime on ice. Anyways, Franchise, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Picked up a Samsung 980 Pro on sale at Micro Center today. Games these days taking up too much space. I hear you. Yeah, Franchise. Back in my day, games were only like 2 or 3 gigabytes, right? Now it's like 40. And that'll just get you the intro. I hear you, man. Yeah. I know that Micro Center's had a lot of Samsung drives on sale, and it's super easy to get to if you have one in your area. It's so fun to get there. I can't wait to go again. I should be going here soon, and games. Yeah, so much space. I mean, that's where I think like cloud gaming, if it really could work exactly the way we want, then we wouldn't have to worry about this type of stuff. But now we have an excuse to go to Micro Center. So, hey, 2 for 1. Mathny, I'm relaxing as I delivered my master's thesis 2 weeks ago, defending it in 2 weeks. Hey, man, congratulations. That is so awesome, Mathny. Wow, so your thesis 2 weeks ago, and then you have to defend it in another 2 weeks. So now it's kind of this like, yeah, you're in limbo, a lame duck session. You're just kind of just hanging out and waiting until you have to defend it. I like it. Well, congratulations. That is huge. I know you've been working really hard on it, and I hope it goes well. They're probably just going to say, yeah, there's no rebuttal needed. Yeah, this Mathny, he knows what's going on. We know him. I'll put in a word for you. Ingerfear. What am I working on? All your videos you put up. Playing with mass. All right, super fun. Want to look at Packer? Yeah, Packer's super fun too. Definitely. Got a small K3S cluster. Awesome. That is awesome. I love it when people say that, especially when they have no idea how to use Kubernetes. Is if I can help them take that roadblock out of getting Kubernetes going, and then they can just focus on Kubernetes instead of building Kubernetes. I think that's where I get my stamp of approval. That's where I feel like, I don't want to say my job is done, but that's where I feel like I'm super excited whenever someone's been able to use my playbook to get Kubernetes going, because it means you're not spending hours trying to get Kubernetes running when you're trying to learn Kubernetes running. It goes back to this whole like, where where do you get value, or where's the most potential? For you might want to host applications or learn about the Kubernetes API, and you might not want to build and host Kubernetes, but you're not going to use Kubernetes in the cloud because it costs money, so you want to run it at home to learn. And so that's where I go back to the value or potential. Like where do you want to spend your time and effort? Probably where the most potential or value is, and that's on actually learning Kubernetes and maybe not so much hosting it. And that was my goal with the playbook, is just try to remove that barrier. It's still kind of steep to get it going. You could always go to the cloud and use their Kubernetes as a service, but this makes it a little bit more, I would say, accessible for people who don't have the money to do so. Anyways, I need to learn Ansible as well. Thanks for the vids; they're very helpful. Yeah, I'm thank you so much. Nobi, good luck. Defend it well. I agree. Let's see. Desabotage. I'm working on designating a proper patron saint for the IT people. Let me know what it is. Randoneering, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Has Risa Prime 8 months. 8 month streak. Howdy. 8 months. My gosh. That's a long time. It is. Thanks for the awesome work. Keep it up. And hopefully part of your new endeavors, we might be able to see some swag. Yeah, you guys keep getting on me about that. I know. I've talked to my lead designer, my wife, about some ideas I have, and we just need to get them on paper. There's nothing she needs to do. It's all me. I told her, hey, I have some inspiration. Maybe I'll mock some stuff up. I just haven't handed that to her. So that is a card on my Trello board, and I'm working through my Trello board. So now my Trello board's opened up a little bit because this last project for me, although you see a 14-minute video, it's taken about a week and a half for me to film, to write, film, edit, distribute. Those are the 4 things I have to do with every video, and it takes some work. Especially on the writing. The writing is where it's easy for me to procrastinate because I'm like, writer's block right now. I'm not feeling inspired. And it's so easy for me to kind of procrastinate and put some of that stuff off. When it gets into editing, there's no excuse because I have the work there. It's just a matter of me just going through and doing it. And then, the producing and or the distribution is something I have to do too to get the word out. So anyways, soon. Crack Kitty, yeah, for soon, for sure. Let's see, Gabodi, thanks. I'm currently posting to the Hypervisor channel on Discord, hoping somebody else knows the solution. I'm sure there are so many experts in our Discord server. Plug for the Discord server. It's almost 9,000 people. A lot of friendly, a lot of helpful people who know a lot of things, and somehow I got lucky to have them all on my Discord server, and it's pretty awesome. Great mods too. Let's see. Techno Tim, when Diablo 4 takes precedence over homelab. I hear you. It's okay. Xavius, how's it going? I was just thinking about you, I think 2-3 days ago. I was like, I haven't heard Xavius D in a while, and his endeavors and his wheeling and dealing on homelab sales. Dude, that is totally fine. I would definitely be there too if this kind of wasn't my job right now. So I totally get it. You'll have to let me know how Diablo 4 is. I've seen so many videos. I just want to play. I have to put my blinders on every time I see it because I played a ton of Diablo 3 and huge fan of that series and Blizzard in general and a lot of Activision. So yeah. Let me know how it's going. It's okay, man. It's summertime and it's your personal time. If you want to do it, you don't have to feel bad to play video games in order to unplug and not work on home lab stuff. I'm all for it. Unplug however you want. And if it's video games, hey, and yeah, I'm right there too. This is how I like to unplug. I just haven't unplugged in a while. Let's see. My Friday is going well. From Modest, going well. Just getting some work. I love listening to streams while I work. So Fridays are great. Modest Tim, hey, awesome. I'm glad you tuned in on a Friday and listening in. Hopefully I'm not too distracting. Hopefully there are at least a couple of nuggets so that if someone says, what the heck are you? Who is that guy? Why are you listening to him? You can be like, hey, I have some nuggets from him. He dropped a little bit of knowledge. Here it is. And you could probably recite it in a whole 5 seconds. 419 Distilled. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Dentritos. I don't know. Den Doctor. I don't know. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. I tried my best. Let's see. I'm trying to death shot. I'm trying to save to build up a computer so I can set up a home lab to test and learn. Awesome. That is awesome. I hope you find one. So if you don't know, so let's go through a couple things. You have a lot of options. I would recommend starting with an old computer because a lot of times you can get one for free. A lot of times you might have someone you know or in your family or friends who are getting rid of an old computer or getting rid of one for really cheap. I would say go that route just to make sure that that's what you want to do with that shot. Check out your recycling places. Check out, Goodwill, as well as, any other secondhand store. There's a lot of good deals in a lot of places. The best deal is free. And a lot of times you can find people giving away their old PC. And while that might not sound awesome and it might not have the latest tech, it should have enough tech for you to learn about, a lot of home lab stuff. Because at the end of the day, a lot of home lab stuff is, a lot of the stuff that we're all running is technology that's been around for many, many years and is optimized to run on low power hardware until you start getting into some of the more advanced stuff. But while you're getting into it, I would say look, ask around maybe in your family or your neighborhood. Say, hey, anyone getting rid of an old PC? I want to learn something. And you might be surprised at someone who just says, you know what? We've had one sitting out there. Yeah, why not? So, awesome. You're going to get into it. Yeah. Piece of geek. Smiley face. All right. I got to get this one. Mystic. Hey, how are you? It's so hard to read. Hey, how are you? I just installed Proxmox on an old file server. Just speaking of old machines. And I'm running OpenSense in a VM. Hey, all right. Except I'm getting half a gigabit speed down. Upload speeds are okay. I'm using a Realtek NIC. Any ideas what could be causing this? If not, that's no biggie. Love your videos. I don't. So you can set this up a couple of different ways. I don't know how you have yours set up, Mystic. You can pass through that NIC to that device, which will then hand it over to the operating system, and then you're not using a virtualized NIC, and nothing wrong with virtual NICs per se, but it's going to be using a different driver than if it were the physical NIC. So you can try that. You can try passing if you have it. If you have that NIC separated, you could try passing through that physical NIC, if you can, or you could try a different NIC type. I think like in Proxmox, you have different types of NICs, basically virtual NICs. Paravert, there's 3, 4. There's one that emulates Intel. There's one that emulates a Realtek. You could try toggling through there, and hopefully OpenSense has the right drivers for that, and hopefully it doesn't take too much reconfiguration. You could try that too. Those are things I would try. If I was like, man, I'm getting the worst performance ever on here, first thing I would do is be like, hey, let's go bare metal PCIe device, bare metal NIC, pass the NIC through, try that. If that doesn't work, then what I would try to do is just toggle through the different NIC types so that you're using a different, so that the virtual machine sees a new NIC and tries a different driver, and try that. Outside of that, I would just make sure, Then if it's none of those two, then I don't know what I would do. It would be tough call. Watch, make sure, disable if you have a ton of like IDS and IPS and deep packet inspection turned on, turn that off, and go from there. Watch the CPU, make sure it has enough cores, just kind of monitor it while you're doing some throughput testing. I doubt it's CPU, GPU, or CPU or RAM or anything. It's probably not compute. It probably has to do with the driver, and it may have to do with the one you have selected. So try a different one. I hope that helps. Report back. You could offer the top spot of the highest bidder. Yeah, I like it. I could sell this spot up here to the highest bidder. I sell it in points. Yeah, I'd be scared of what would go up there. I'd have to have some kind of final say, because I mean, if it ended up being like, Bodie McBoatface, I'd be okay with that. But if it ended up being, name your whatever people come up with on the internet, I might not be. So I kind of like it though. Crack Kitty, for me it needs to be opinions about the best practices in semiconductor physics on 1.5 nanometer node. Yes, I love it. It rolls right off the tongue, but management would love it. I like it. I like it. I can put that up there in the title. Yeah, maybe I should have a vote, a pre-vote for what the title should be, especially for people who are new here or just like tuning in and clicked on this channel. They'll be like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy talks. That's what they'd be like. This guy talks. You know, they'd be like, oh man, that's cracking me up. That crackety, yeah. I should maybe run a poll, a weekly poll of what it should be. I'll say the mods would have final say, so it wasn't me, and I couldn't just shoot down, something because I didn't like it. Not that I would, but mods would have final say. I like it. I like it. Maybe I should start. Yeah. This spot reserved. This spot reserved. Summer break from homelab for me. Yep, I get it. How Weston. New hours of the stream are good for me. Awesome. I totally get it. A lot of people do, indoor type stuff, computer server type stuff, during, not summer, I should say. There's summer and not summer. In Minnesota, there's winter and not winter. But anyways, a lot of people do it in not summer because, all the things they have going on. But a lot of people do it too because, it just gets warm. And who wants to sit inside sometimes when you have a server rack, you might not have AC, and it gets kind of warm with monitors on and stuff like that, depending on where you are in the world or in the hemisphere. You might do just that. I totally get it, and a lot of people just go back to it during the wintertime because it's like, okay, now it's finally cooling off. I totally get it, and no need to make it, and it feel like you're making excuses. I totally get it. I used to do the same thing too. But then like about midsummer, I'd be like, okay, I've done all the yard work. I've done all the games, played all the games I want to play. Let's get back into this. Oh, let's see. Hey, let's see. Zoopy. You intend to make a video comparing ZimaBoard versus the GW R86S U4? I don't know that device, so probably not. But in general, I can probably say with a pretty high level of confidence that I most likely won't. I typically, I'm going to get in trouble because people are going to point out places where I did it. But in general, I typically don't compare a lot of devices. A lot of the devices that I do talk about in general are ones that I use in my environment. They're part of my project from the week before. They're things that I use or trust or believe in. So I don't know that one, so I'd have to look at it. But in general, I mean, if they do play a similar role and I get one in my hand sometimes, maybe. So I won't throw it out. But off the top of my head, I can say I don't know what that device is. I'd have to know and have to play with it for a little while, and then maybe who knows. But I also want to the whole caveat that I threw in earlier is like everyone has their own opinion of what they'd use a device for. It's your denominator. That's what I'm calling it. And you're going to put price on the top, and you're going to divide it by your denominator, whether that be performance, that might be RAM, that might be accessibility. How easily can I get this thing? Can I even get this thing? And it might be something as simple as a PCI Express slot. That's your denominator. Expandability. And so like most people are going to put on their lens and say, nope, it costs too much money. Or nope, this one's better because of this, and so it's hard. It's hard to please everyone, and I'm not trying to please everyone. I'm trying to give just my take on a lot of the stuff that I do. Anyways, I'm gonna Google that device right afterwards because I have no idea what it is, and I'm gonna look into it. But no plans right now because I don't even know what it is, and most of the time, I would say almost every time, everything that I've talked about on stream, I've used. Or have, or used in a project. I'll say that because there's software and hardware. They don't have software. I've used software, and there are things that I believe in. So, Teuton 76. Hey, thanks for the Prime sub. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Let me see. This is probably going to be the last one because I usually go for roughly an hour, and I start a little late, and so I'm ending a little late. Hey. From Norway, this is coming from Alazemos. I'm going with, I liked how it said the first time. Alazemos. I don't know why I'm putting that twist on it. From Norway, and working on Kubernetes and monitoring. I have 10 plus tenants to monitor with Blackbox. Oh man, I sure chose a pretty deep one to end on. I have 10 plus tenants to monitor with Blackbox, Promidor, Lax Azure Log Analytics, 20 customers, many black boxes, and huge monitoring with Mimir. Wow. Yeah. So you got your work cut out for you. Wow, that sounds pretty awesome. So you're doing Kubernetes monitoring. You have 10 tenants where you're monitoring them with Blackbox and a couple other log analyzing tools. You mentioned Azure Log Analytics, so I assume you're in Azure. And then 20 customers where you're monitoring with black boxes and huge monitoring with Mimir. Wow, that is that is awesome. That's quite the logging setup. So I'm curious, did you set that up for you as the operator, as the maintainer for these environments, just to know what's going on, which I think is awesome if it is, or if this was because of some kind of regulation or some kind of regulation on either the country they're in or the regulation for maybe the market that they're in. So yeah, let me know. That sounds awesome. I'm not familiar with Mimir or Promitor, so I'll have to look into them. But it sounds awesome. We could all use more logging. The challenge with logging is one, the signal to noise ratio is super low. Is it low? Signal? Yeah, it's low because it's a needle in the haystack all the time. So it's like it's one thing to log. It's another thing to be able to act on that log or to find that log or to trigger an alert when that type of log happens. So setting up log metrics or some other logging spelunking tool to be able to search and find those are pretty awesome. And I'm a huge fan. Need more log. That is right, Baron von Pfafferton. Need more log. That is exactly. We all need more log. But I would say, logging is one thing. But what I was talking about, logging is one thing. That is great. But I think logging is just the beginning. Logging just means you're capturing the stuff. If you never look at those logs, then what's the point of logging? So the next piece is setting up analytics to be able to analyze those logs, and then log metrics to be able to capture instance of those logs to hopefully then alert on those logs. And so I think that's kind of the holy grail of logging. Logging is just the beginning, but when you can set up a metric based on a certain type of log to then alert if that log happens X number of times or one time or over a certain period of time, that's where the holy grail is, because then your signal to noise ratio goes up, because then I don't want to say you don't have to look at logs, but you're only notified of the things that need your attention in the moment. So pretty cool stuff. Awesome. So hey, thanks so much for joining in today. Thank you so much for letting me take some time out of your Friday. Again, just experimenting with times. Next Friday is going to be either 10, 11, 12, or 1 CST. Doing some experimenting this week, the last couple of weeks, to see what works best. I think I'm going to hone in. I'm going to look at the metrics and also get feedback from you. Lots of positive feedback. There was some, hour or two off. That I think that's always going to happen. But there are a lot of people who said, hey, this time works way better because, hey, it's usually 10 o'clock at night where I'm at, or 4 in the morning. So a lot of positive feedback. So I appreciate that. And keep pointing in there. Throw it in Discord if you're like, hey, that time worked great or the time is terrible. Let me know. Wow, I need to fix my outro because I usually know my outro, but it doesn't apply today. So because it's Friday. Hey, if you wanna talk some more, I mentioned Discord. We have a Discord server full of, I think we're at 9,000, very close to 9,000 members who talk about all things tech, talk about funny things, tech. Very helpful. We have channels for almost every topic imaginable, and very low ping. Pretty chill. We got great mods. We got great people, super knowledgeable, and people like to help. I'm also there too, but I'm, the people who are there helping are way more helpful than I am. But if you'd like to join, there is a link. You can. There's a link. Oh, thank you so much. PC Geek just did it. You can find it there. It's Techno. Or no, it's discord.gg/TechnoTim. If you forget, just Google TechnoTim Discord. It's pretty awesome. I'd love for you to join. Outside of that, I have a great weekend. I'm not used to saying this, but have a great weekend. I'll be in Discord. I'll be on Twitter. I'll be all the places I normally am. If you think of something and you think something's cool or want to share something with me, ping me on it. I'd love to know. I will be back next Friday, and hopefully I'll have something out everywhere else for you soon. I'm gonna commit, but I think I'm doing. Not I think I am gonna do a giveaway. Stay tuned, and stay tuned Discord, especially to figure out what that is. I've never done a giveaway, but I have something really awesome I'm gonna give away, and you don't want to miss it. So, anyways, have a great rest of the Friday. I'll see you next week, and take care. Be good to each other. Take care, folks.